Imagine, just for a moment, this scene unfolding. You're in your kitchen, and it's 7 o'clock in the evening. She enters, her expression a silent declaration. You know precisely the look I mean. It's a gaze that tightens your chest even before a word is spoken. It's not the prelude to shouting. No, a verbal outburst would be a mercy, an honest expression. Instead, a sigh. That subtle, deflated exhalation conveys more than any torrent of words could. In that instant, you feel yourself diminishing, shrinking from the person you were mere seconds prior. And here's the deeply unsettling aspect, the part that compels you to reevaluate everything. She genuinely believes her demeanor is reasonable. She sees herself as the composed, the patient one, the pillar holding everything together, while you, the unfortunate, the inadequate you, perpetually falter. Let me share a profound realization that took me 37 years to grasp. It wasn't gleaned from books or workshops, but from witnessing the systematic dismantling of my own spirit, piece by piece. A woman needs not raise her voice to shatter a man. She doesn't require the dramatic flair of shattered crockery or slamming doors. All she needs is a specific blend of entitlement and disappointment. A potent cocktail that transforms a mature man into a child, desperately seeking maternal validation. And the most perverse truth? We permit it. We practically invite it. Deep within our ingrained programming, we've internalized the notion that a woman's contentment is our solemn duty. Her emotional state is a direct reflection of our adequacy. If she's not pleased, we've fundamentally failed as men. I recall being utterly alone in my apartment 3 years ago, for the first time in a decade, when a startling clarity dawned upon me. Something that should have been self-evident, but remained elusive. Every decision made over the preceding 10 years, without exception, from career choices to the very shirt I wore, even what I consumed for breakfast, had been filtered through the question, what will she think? Never, what do I desire? Never, what is truly best for me? Or, what makes practical sense? But solely, what will ensure her happiness? What will avert that particular look? What will prevent that sigh? When will it finally, unequivocally, be enough? Would you like to know the answer? It is nothing. Absolutely nothing is ever sufficient for someone who perceives you not as an equal partner, but as a project to be managed. Not as a fellow human being, but as a source of services. Not as a man, but as an inevitable letdown. You see, there's a beautiful deception that's been universally disseminated. A fairy tale suggesting that with enough love, enough sacrifice, enough provision, she will finally recognize your inherent value, truly appreciate you, and miraculously transform into the gentle, affectionate soul you envisioned marrying. But here's the reality. Listen closely, for this insight can spare you years of anguish. The more you offer, the less respect you command. The greater your sacrifices, the higher her expectations become. The more you strive to appease her, the deeper her disdain for your perceived weakness grows. This isn't a flaw in the system. It's an intrinsic design feature. It's precisely how the entire mechanism operates. Allow me to illustrate the process of this dissolution. Pay close attention, as you may be living it currently, without conscious awareness. It commences with devaluation, The subtle art of rendering all your contributions mundane, expected, the bare minimum. You dedicate 50, 60, 70 hours weekly to your work. Well, that's simply what's required of men. You undertake household repairs. That's standard adult responsibility. You spend time with your children? Congratulations. You're performing a father's basic duty. Do you expect a commendation? You orchestrate an enjoyable dinner. Other husbands arrange lavish vacations to Paris. You present her with flowers. They're the wrong shade. Or perhaps they are lovely, but you only bought them out of guilt for some unmentioned transgression. Observe how swiftly gratitude vanishes from the dynamic. When was the last occasion she offered sincere thanks? Not a perfunctory acknowledgement, but genuine, heartfelt appreciation for your efforts, for your very being, for the burdens you carry. Do you wonder why she refrains from expressing thanks? Because in her estimation, you are not extending favors, you are fulfilling obligations. You are meeting the fundamental requirements of your role as her partner, and no one commends an employee for simply reporting for duty. Yet heaven forbid you omit expressing gratitude for her every minor act. She prepares a meal. You'd best react as if Gordon Ramsay himself were in your kitchen. She handles the laundry. It's a monumental act of self-denial. She tends to the children, the ones you mutually chose to bring into existence. She's a saint, a martyr, a veritable superhero, and if you fail to acknowledge her contributions, if you don't sufficiently venerate her endeavors, you are labeled an ungrateful wretch who fails to appreciate her sacrifices for the family. The second instrument in her arsenal, particularly insidious, is control masquerading as concern. Where have you been? Who are you with? Why did you not respond immediately? I saw you were active online at 11:47, yet you didn't reply to my message until 11:52. What were you engaged in during those 5 minutes? She will frame these inquiries as genuine care, a desire to comprehend your day, an interest in your life. In truth, however, she is implanting a spiritual GPS tracker, ensuring you understand that every second of your existence is subject to her scrutiny and approval. And here's where the true malignancy lies. The more you acquiesce to this surveillance, the more you endeavor to be transparent and cater to her need for dominion, the more she grows to resent you for it. For deep down, she doesn't desire a man she can dominate. She craves a man she cannot control, yet who willingly chooses to remain with her. But she is incapable of restraint. She must test. She must push. She must ascertain your limits of tolerance. And each instance you submit, each time you surrender your phone without protest, each time you meticulously account for your whereabouts and companions, like an adolescent reporting to their parents, a fragment of her attraction to you erodes. This perpetual state of surveillance engenders what I term preemptive paralysis. You cease engaging in activities not due to their inherent impropriety, but because the subsequent explanations would prove utterly exhausting. You forego a casual drink with a friend, deeming the ensuing interrogation not worth the effort. You avoid an alternative route home, anticipating the questions regarding the slight deviation in your travel time. You refrain from joining a fitness club, fearing her assumption that you are attempting to impress someone. Gradually, with chilling deliberation, your world contracts until the sole sanctuary is to remain close to her, performing precisely as she anticipates, embodying precisely who she desires you to be, which amounts to no one at all. Now let us address conflict. The daily skirmishes she professes to loathe, yet somehow perpetuates incessantly. Every discourse transforms into a minefield. Every interaction, a potential confrontation. Every divergence of opinion, a crisis for the relationship.
But here's the crucial understanding regarding these conflicts. They are not about the misplaced dishes, the incorrect loading of the dishwasher, or the forgotten carton of milk. They are fundamentally about power. They are about reinforcing your designated position. They are designed to maintain you in a perpetual state of defensive apprehension, where you are perpetually in the wrong, perpetually offering apologies, perpetually striving to rectify the situation. She has perfected the art I term emotional terrorism. She possesses an uncanny ability to identify precisely which emotional triggers will provoke a reaction, compelling you to raise your voice so she can assume the mantle of the victim, prompting you to withdraw so she can accuse you of indifference, or engaging you so she can exhaust you with circular arguments devoid of resolution. Because achieving resolution was never the objective. The objective was to drain you, to deplete your emotional reserves, to ensure you lacked the residual energy to comprehend the process of your own undoing. And when you are utterly depleted, when your emotional capacity is at its nadir, that is when she presents her demands. You ought to be more affectionate. You ought to generate more income. You ought to be more proficient in household tasks. You ought to be more actively involved with the children, yet simultaneously afford her more personal space. You ought to exhibit greater assertiveness in intimate encounters, while also demonstrating heightened sensitivity to her needs. You ought to be a provider, yet remain emotionally accessible. You ought to be strong, yet concurrently vulnerable. You ought to be self-reliant, yet utterly devoted to her. You are expected to be everything to everyone at all times. And when you inevitably fall short, given these demands are inherently contradictory and impossible to fulfill simultaneously, she is afforded the opportunity to express her disappointment in you once more. Here lies a truth that will undoubtedly sting, but may very well salvage your sanity. She cultivates problems, because your attention directed towards those problems is the sole form of engagement she knows how to process. She cannot exist in a state of tranquility, harmony, or simple contentment. She requires drama with the same essentiality that a plant requires water. She needs conflict as desperately as lungs require air, for in its absence, she would be forced to confront the terrifying realization that she possesses no genuine understanding of her own identity or her desires.
She knows only that she is unhappy. And given your position as the man in her life, the responsibility for this unhappiness must inevitably fall upon you. I observed this phenomenon unfold with my brother over 15 years. He commenced as a self-assured individual, owner of his own enterprise, possessing distinct interests, a circle of friends, a life of his own. 15 years later, he solicits his wife's approval to purchase a coffee en route to work. He meticulously explains the necessity of new work boots as if defending a doctoral thesis. He has declined 3 promotions, citing her assertion that such advancement would necessitate excessive time away from home. Yet, when he is present at home, she complains of his constant proximity. He remains oblivious to this dynamic, perceiving it as normal, as the inherent nature of marriage, as a manifestation of love. But here is what truly devastates a man, what inexorably wears him down to nothing. It is not the control, nor the conflicts, nor the criticisms. It is the perpetually shifting goalposts, the unattainable standards, the fundamental reality that success is an impossibility because the game itself is rigged. Today, she desires you to be more emotionally expressive. You oblige, revealing your fears, your aspirations, your insecurities. Tomorrow, she expresses disgust at your perceived weakness.
She cannot be drawn to a man who weeps, who harbors doubts, who requires validation. Consequently, you adopt a more stoic demeanor, resolving your difficulties independently. Now, you are emotionally detached, cold, withholding all personal revelations from her. It is akin to cohabiting with a stranger. You are, quite literally, incapable of winning, for victory is not part of the design. The design is to maintain you in a constant state of imbalance, perpetually attempting to decipher her desires, perpetually failing, perpetually redoubling your efforts. It is analogous to residing in a casino where the house always prevails, except you are unable to depart and you have wagered your entire existence on a game you neither comprehend nor can possibly triumph over. Allow me to recount the precise moment I truly awakened to the reality of my situation. I had just received a promotion, the most significant professional accomplishment of my career, an objective I had diligently pursued for 5 years. I returned home, eager to share this exhilarating news. And what was her response? "I suppose this means you'll be home even less now." Not congratulations, not pride, not unadulterated joy at my success. Merely an immediate interpretation focused on how this advancement would negatively impact her. In that instant, a profound realization crystallized. I understood that no achievement would ever be genuinely celebrated. No success would ever suffice. No amount of self-validation would ever cause her to perceive me as anything other than a disappointing service provider, consistently failing to meet her unarticulated and perpetually shifting expectations. The truly insidious element lies in her framing of all these circumstances as your failure to embody the archetype of a real man. A genuine man, according to her, would intuit her desires without explicit instruction. A real man would remain unfazed by her emotional fluctuations. A real man would provide her every need while requiring nothing for himself. A real man would be profoundly grateful for the opportunity to serve her.
she is not actively endeavoring to dismantle you. Rather, she is merely disappointed that you are not reaching your full potential. And how fortunate it is, isn't it, that she is present to continually remind you of your shortcomings. And here is where the situation darkens considerably. After years of this dynamic, you begin to internalize these perceptions. You start to believe, perhaps you are indeed inadequate. Perhaps you are genuinely fortunate that she tolerates your presence. Perhaps you should be thankful that she has not sought a more suitable partner. Your entire sense of self becomes distorted, revolving around her perpetual dissatisfaction. You lose touch with the person you were before her consistent disappointment became the prevailing soundtrack of your existence. You forget that you once possessed confidence, pride, a sense of your own intrinsic worth that was entirely independent of whether or not she was experiencing a favorable disposition. The bedroom transforms into yet another arena of contention, another domain where victory is unattainable. When you initiate intimacy, you are perceived as a depraved animal solely focused on carnal urges. Conversely, when you do not initiate, you are deemed to no longer find her attractive, leading to accusations of infidelity or an exploration of your sexual orientation. The very act of intimacy becomes a performance review, a constant assessment where you are invariably found wanting, too hasty, too languid, too forceful, too timid, too predictable, too unconventional. And should you ever experience a moment of functional impairment, it escalates into a relationship crisis demanding exhaustive deliberation and reassurance, though not excessive reassurance, lest you be perceived as needy. She weaponizes her emotions while simultaneously denying you the prerogative to possess any of your own. Her unfavorable day at the office necessitates that the entire household tiptoe on eggshells. Your challenging day at work demands that you suppress your emotions and refrain from importing negativity into the domestic sphere. Her stress is acknowledged as legitimate and necessitates supportive intervention. Your stress is characterized as self-inflicted and requires personal management. Her tears are interpreted as genuine expressions of profound sorrow. Your tears are dismissed as manipulative tactics or a display of weakness. Her anger is deemed justifiable. Your anger is construed as abusive. And throughout this entire ordeal, she perpetuates the narrative of her own suffering. She maintains that she is the one who has made all the sacrifices. She insists that she is the one who merits something superior. She claims to have relinquished her aspirations for your sake, despite never having been requested to do so. She posits that she could have attracted any man, yet chose you. And observe how you reciprocate her sacrifices. She claims to perform all the duties for the family, while you merely attend to your professional obligations. It is as if heading to work to provide for the family constitutes a leisurely vacation, as if the pressure of being the sole provider is a privilege rather than an onerous burden. The isolation is a deliberate strategy. Your friends are reclassified as detrimental influences. That confidant from your formative years is now labeled a poor role model. Your brother, she asserts, has never truly harbored favorable sentiments towards her. Your parents, she contends, are excessively involved in your life. One by one, your established support system is systematically dismantled, until her voice is the sole one resonating in your mind. Her perspective the only one you perceive. Her judgment the sole determinant of your worth. And once you are completely isolated, with no external recourse for reality checks,
the true devastation commences. She will meticulously rewrite history to cast you as the antagonist in every account. The forgotten anniversary becomes irrefutable evidence of your profound disregard for the relationship. A past disagreement from 3 years prior is resurrected as definitive proof of your propensity for mistreatment. Every misstep you have ever made is meticulously documented and stored, ready to be produced whenever she deems it necessary to remind you of the immense fortune you possess in her continued presence. Concurrently, her transgressions are reframed as mere reactions to your failures. Her cruelties are presented as responses to your inadequacies. Her betrayals are characterized as actions you directly instigated. Now, for the truly disorienting aspect, the element that will profoundly unsettle you, occurring just frequently enough to maintain your engagement. She will exhibit periods of remarkable sweetness. She will embody the woman with whom you initially fell in love. She will be tender, affectionate, and appreciative, leading you to believe, this is it. We've reached a turning point. Things are bound to improve now. However, this shift is never enduring, for that sweetness does not signify genuine transformation. It is merely intermittent reinforcement. The most potent psychological mechanism for cultivating addiction and dependence. Those fleeting moments of tenderness are calculated to sustain your hope, to encourage your continued effort, to foster the belief that by discovering the correct equilibrium, you can perpetually ensure her happiness. But this is an unattainable objective, for her unhappiness is not a reflection of your actions. It never was. Her unhappiness is intrinsically linked to her own internal state, stemming from unaddressed wounds, predating your acquaintance, from needs that no single human being could conceivably fulfill, from a void that no amount of your sacrifice could ever adequately fill. You are not her partner. You are her emotional crutch, her designated outlet for frustration, her scapegoat for a life that has not materialized as anticipated. And as long as you persist in this role, as long as you passively accept this treatment, she will continue to erode you. Not out of malice, but because you are enabling it. Because you have implicitly consented to your own destruction. The solution, and this may sound disarmingly simple, yet it is the unvarnished truth, is to cease actively participating in your own undoing. Stop endeavoring to orchestrate her happiness. It is not your responsibility and is demonstrably impossible. Cease offering explanations. You are not obligated to provide an hourly account of your day. Refrain from apologizing for your existence, for your inherent needs, for your very humanity. Discontinue seeking permission to navigate your own life. Resist the impulse to perceive her disappointment as an imminent crisis, requiring your immediate resolution. I can anticipate your concern, but if I adopt this approach, she will depart. and it is a distinct possibility. However, allow me to pose a counter question. What precisely would you be relinquishing? A woman who harbors no respect for you? A woman who consistently views you as a source of disappointment? A woman systematically grinding your spirit into dust? That is not a loss. It is liberation. It is the reclaiming of your own existence. It is the rediscovery of the individual you were before you became a mere supporting character in her unfolding drama. The unadorned truth, and this is a lesson that took me an inordinate amount of time to internalize, is that a woman who genuinely loves you does not seek to diminish you. Her desire is to construct a life with you, to mature alongside you, to confront life's challenges as an equal partner, not as a supervisor, a critic, or a judge. She actively desires to witness your triumphs, celebrates your successes, and provides unwavering support through your setbacks. She does not maintain a tally, harbors no grudges, and refrains from wielding your vulnerabilities as offensive weaponry. She enhances your life rather than relentlessly subtracting from it. If you are partnered with a woman who diminishes your stature, weakens your resolve, or makes you feel less than you are, that is not love. She may require you, she may be dependent upon you, she may be paralyzed by the prospect of solitude, but that is not love. Love does not diminish, it amplifies. Love does not exhaust, it invigorates. Love does not generate anxiety, it cultivates peace. If your current experience deviates from these tenets, it is not love. It is something else entirely. Something toxic. Something that will ultimately consume every positive facet of your being if you allow it to persist. I implore you to perform an exercise at this very moment. Reflect upon the last occasion you experienced genuine happiness, profound relaxation, or a true sense of self. Was she present? Or were you alone? Perhaps with friends? Or in any location other than her immediate vicinity? If the most cherished moments of your life are those experienced in her absence, what does this reveal about the contribution she makes to your life? If you feel a sense of lightness when she departs, and a palpable heaviness upon her return, what does this signify regarding the burden she imposes upon your spirit? You possess a singular existence, a solitary opportunity at this life, and you are squandering it by being systematically dissolved by an individual who views you as a mere combination of an automated teller machine and an emotional custodian. You are spending it offering apologies for your very nature, constricting yourself to conform to her narrow definition of acceptability, diminishing incrementally each day to facilitate another's comfort within their dysfunction. Is this truly the manner in which you wish to navigate the subsequent 10, 20, or 30 years? Is this the legacy you aspire to bequeath? Is this the example you intend to set for your offspring? Because here's what your children are absorbing by observing this dynamic. Your sons are learning that men exist solely to cater to women's emotional needs, that their own requirements are inconsequential, and that love equates to tolerating disrespect. Your daughters are learning that they are entitled to treat men without regard, that their feelings supersede all others, and that they deserve to be catered to by virtue of their mere existence. You are not merely self-destructing. You are actively educating the next generation, teaching them that this pattern of destruction is not only normal, but acceptable, the very definition of love. The pathway to egress is considerably simpler than you might envision, yet far more arduous than you can possibly imagine. You must be prepared to be perceived as the villain, because when you cease your participation in the unhealthy dynamics, she will likely brand you as selfish, unkind, and abandoning. You need to accept the possibility of disappointing her, as her disappointment has been a tool of control over you for an extended period. True liberation involves no longer being burdened by that. You must be willing to embrace solitude, understanding that being alone is immeasurably superior to being with someone who makes you feel isolated, even when in their company. Begin with minor actions. Decline a request, any request, without offering justifications or explanations. Depart from the residence without seeking prior authorization or providing an exhaustive account of your intended whereabouts. Express an opinion that diverges from hers and stand firm on it, even when she attempts to dissuade you through argumentation. Observe her reaction closely. Witness her escalation. See how she deploys every tactic from her repertoire of manipulation to bring you back into compliance. Then, observe how, if you refuse to yield, refuse to falter, refuse to revert to being her compliant subordinate, she will either be compelled to show you respect, or her true character will be exposed. Certain women, when confronted with a man who resists being broken, may actually evolve into more supportive partners. They might recognize that the drama and attempts at control were not effective and did not bring them happiness either, leading them to adapt. However, many will not. A significant number will intensify their efforts until the relationship becomes unsustainable. And that is acceptable, because a partnership that necessitates your own destruction to endure is not a partnership worth preserving. The most crucial realization is that this is not about transforming into a domineering figure or treating her poorly.
It is about establishing personal boundaries, maintaining your self-worth, and cultivating a life that exists independently of her validation. It is about becoming a complete individual rather than a secondary figure in someone else's narrative. It is about remembering your own significance. Your requirements are important. Your contentment is vital. And anyone who attempts to persuade you otherwise does not merit a place in your existence. Look, I understand this is difficult to absorb. I recognize that you have likely invested years, perhaps even decades, in this relationship. I am aware that children may be involved, shared financial assets, an entire existence built around these problematic patterns. However, remaining in a situation that is dismantling you is not an act of heroism. It does not reflect positively on your role as a father or as a man. It communicates to everyone around you that mistreating you is permissible. Eventually, you may begin to internalize that you deserve such treatment. You do not. You deserve a companion who truly sees you, values you, champions you, and loves you for your authentic self, not for what you can provide them. You are entitled to tranquility within your own home, to rest comfortably in your own bed, to the liberty of being your genuine self without perpetual critique and judgment. You merit a woman who enriches your life rather than consistently diminishing it. The decision rests with you. You can continue to allow her to dismantle you incrementally until nothing remains but an empty shell going through the motions. Alternatively, you can cease to participate in your own undoing. Reclaim your life and either transform your relationship into something healthy or seek out someone who genuinely desires your companionship, not just what you can offer. In either scenario, the initial step involves acknowledging the reality of the situation, confessing that this dynamic is not indicative of love, that it is not typical, and that this is not a standard you are obligated to accept. Your future self is contingent upon the resolution you make at this very moment. The individual you have the potential to become, the life you could lead, the serenity you might experience. It all awaits on the other side of your resolve to cease being victimized. Do not defer another day, another month, another year. Do not postpone until there is nothing left of you to salvage.
The opportune moment is now. The choice is yours. And your life, your actual life, as opposed to this diminished existence you have been tolerating, is waiting for you to prioritize yourself for once.